And an old timer in one of them scooters. I warned them. That's all I can tell you.
Nice. So we'll typically do in this part, we like to do kind of a Q&A. So this is really your chance to ask us anything. It can be show related, it can be investigation related, it can be personal. We don't, I mean, anything you guys want to ask. So, anyone?
Have you ever had a case where a child was being tormented by something, but your evidence showed nothing?
Yeah, we have
And
dealt.
what approach did you take in the answer?
Yeah, we have had a few cases where children seem to be mostly affected, and those are cases that you really you need to go into very carefully, just because there is a potential psychological aspect to that. It's probably more likely than a ghost, and so it's always important to, and we always tell parents not to talk about that in front of the child, to not encourage that aspect of it, the paranormal aspect. But first and foremost, almost every time we tell them to take them to a child psychologist before anything, before investigating, and especially if you're not finding any evidence of anything paranormal, then we really suggest that you go like the child psychologist route. Just, kids have, issues just like the rest of us, and so that's usually, we don't want to not necessarily encourage, we don't want to make anything worse. And not only do we not know exactly what's going on when something is paranormal, but we definitely aren't qualified to be child therapists or child counselors. So that's usually what we recommend.
Out of all of the times that you go to investigate, how often, what's the percent that you really experience anything, and how does the Thomas house, I just saw that.
That's great.
Yeah, I just saw it on Amazon. So how does that compare? Is it pretty accurate?
I mean, for me personally, I feel like Amy and I, we have great experiences because we work well together. We work well off of each other. We kind of feed each other with information, and I think when you investigate, you have your own experience. Like, you may have things happen all the time to you, and then somebody else on your team may never have anything happen. So I think it's a very right. So that's absolutely true. And when something happens to Steve and Tango or Steve, they freak out because never. They're like, son of a, this is crazy. So I think it's very personal. And like the Thomas house, when we walked into it, we walk into it like we walk into every investigation. We get the claims, we kind of sit back, and then we say, okay, let's see what's here. And we were not expecting that by any means. We were whistling Yankee Doodle Dandy just to see if we could get any kind of response. And as soon as we stopped and it whistled back, we thought that Tango and Britt were making fun of us. Like they were obviously somewhere hiding, and it took us by surprise. And the Thomas house is a really great location, but it's either hit or miss. We never know what we're going to find when we investigate, just like everyone else.
And I'd say percentage-wise, like maybe 1 out of 10 of the places will have an experience. And we're really lucky with the show because by the time a case gets to us, it's pretty much well known, and it has had recent paranormal activity. When the show first started and nobody knew who the heck Taps were, there were a lot more cases where nothing happened. But then as time has gone on and people have gotten to know us and respect us and want us to come investigate their places, we're getting really great cases. And so we have a lot more activity. We're kind of a lot more fortunate than many other paranormal groups. I know before I was with Taps, my other groups, gosh, nothing ever happened. It was, so it's been definitely a treat for sure.
I have a question for Amy. Did you say you're having a little girl?
Yeah.
Do you know what you want to name her?
No, we have these big long lists,
yeah.
And we each did a list, and then we emailed them to each other because I'm on the road too much, and and none of the names match. So now we're at the point where one of us is gonna have to cave.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be me.
Right.
Yeah.
She's not caving.
No.
What would you say, whether on the air or off the air, what would you say would be your scariest experience or scariest investigation?
That's a tricky question. Because scary,
Doesn't necessarily mean paranormal.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say the most fun, thrilling, because when you mean scared, to me it means thrilling, exciting.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. I can't believe this is happening.
Exactly.
I would say Waverly Hills, most definitely.
Yeah. I
Going
mean,
there.
Waverly Hills is definitely like the most exciting place for me, paranormal wise. But my scariest experience happened at a penitentiary in New Jersey, which means that Bruce probably sent us there. Essex County Penitentiary. These places are kind of run down and abandoned, and not really abandoned, but hadn't been operating for many years. And they had a whole campus filled with buildings that they were connected with this tunnel system. And I was investigating alone, and by alone I mean with a camera operator. So obviously somebody's filming us when we're alone, so it's not necessarily as dangerous as everybody thinks it is. But so I'm by myself, and I'm walking down this tunnel, which I'm looking for any excuse to get out of the tunnel because I hate them. And I see this manhole cover above me. So I pull this big steel barrel over, climb up on this barrel, and I lift this cover up. And I stand up, and I'm in this big boiler room, but I'm also in a homeless man's nest.
Oh.
And he was home. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and there was mutual understanding that I was leaving immediately. So I just went back down, and I looked at the camera guy, and I'm like, we're not going that way. And so most of our locations are very secure, but in that case, not all of the we didn't have access to all those buildings. That was one of the buildings we weren't investigating, so it really was somewhere we weren't supposed to be, and so that's why there was somebody in there. So that doesn't happen very often, of course, but I was petrified. When we investigated Buffalo Central Terminal, our client went down the tunnels and had his hand broken by some crackhead was down the tunnels and attacked him with a crowbar and broke his hand.
Wow.
Yeah, some of the places we go are...
That and wild animals, things, because you can't Pennhurst or these places that are open all the time. You don't know what's in there. Raccoons and rats crawl in there and want to eat